Wealth beyond money. And Allah has said, wealth is never money. Never. Anybody who says that wealth is money does not understand the meaning of wealth. Money is a tiny component of wealth. It doesn't define a human being. There's so many criminals who have money. And that is the problem we have in our society today. As I was coming here, I didn't know what I was going to discuss. But I was just telling somebody, why is it that we have reforms? We've taken the right steps for government and things are not working. Because we have turned your country into a crime scene where people are stealing everything, thinking that one makes them great, thinking that one makes changes their life. No. It doesn't change anybody. Some of you might not know, I'm not a politician. I wasn't a typical Nigerian politician. I was just like you. Who wanted to know more? Somebody said, I live in this town. I was born in this town. Just less than 10 minutes walk from here was where I was born. I went to primary school in this town. And I went to university, I went to secondary school in this town. I went from Santa Maria to CKC. The only reason why I didn't go to university in this town, there was no university when I was there. So I'm part and parcel of this town. And I love this town. Wow. It's the only place in Federal Republic of Nigeria where I have a house of my own. If you see any house with a name, the people will be in Abuja, confiscate it. I'm sure you must have heard when the minister said he revoked my land. Yes, they gave us land when we were governing. They gave every governor land. I must tell you, now I would have done something different with the land. But the man who gave me the land is still alive. The governor of Bauchi State. The day he called me, I told him I don't need the land. I don't acquire what I don't need. But I would have done it differently, I must tell you. Maybe probably I would have taken it and given it to somebody. Because the things that I do that, I look at it and say, I would have done it differently. So I don't have a house anywhere. You go to Lagos and see any place, they tell you, this land and house belongs to people who confiscate it. The only place that I have a house in my name is 22A Niger Drive. And I recall the local government chairman wanting to change the street to my name. And the local government chairman I appointed. And I asked him a question. First, I did want something wrong. I live beside the Babiasika. Babiasika is number 22, I'm 22A. And I said, why would you do that? When I was in primary school, Babiasika was East Central State Administrator. Why would you put something in my name when you live on the same street? That's disrespect. He didn't, maybe he laughed, maybe he didn't like it. I said, you either change it to his name or you think what it is. I don't need anything. I didn't build anything. Even where I was born, I built a block on my own then in the hospital. The hospital wanted to name it after me. Or after my mother, and I said it doesn't make any difference. It doesn't make any difference to me. Except for us, human beings, who wants our name to be mentioned anywhere. I was governor here for 8 years. There's no street here with my name or my wife's name. And I told them it's nonsense. Doesn't make any difference. It's just stupid accumulation of what we don't need. Titles we don't need, like they call it the excellence. My name is Peter Obi. And I love it. I don't want you to put chief in it. I don't want to put anything in it. I love that name. And that's what I want you to call me. Today I have young people working for me, 26, 27, 28. And they said, I said, okay, if you can't call me to call me PO, that's enough. Don't stop all this title. His Excellency, even when the people are not excellent. Why do you do that? So wealth is beyond money. It's good that I'll tell you my involvement in politics. I was born a trader. I was born in this town. My father was a successful trader in this town. If you go down this road, New Market Road, you will see where they have Mr. Biggs. 75 New Market Road. That's my father's store. He built it in the 50s. If you look in between New Market Road and Old Market Road, there's a small building. You can hardly enter one person. That was his office. And he had a Mercedes 220, which he used to take us to school in Santa Maria. Then, was a rich man. Was the main supermarket here. I built so supermarket. Everybody knows the supermarket. Everybody, that's where I grew up. I lived number 4 New American Road. That time, most people who are traders live in Fegi. Everybody live in Fegi. So to leave this side, they were just 2 white people, and then you have American quarters. We live in what place called American quarters, number 4 American Road. That's where I grew up. And then we have my father owns another property, 12 Old Hospital, all around here. So, what am I trying to say? I was born a trader. And I became a trader, and that's what I do. But because of my search for knowledge, after going to school, I decided to go to different schools. On my own, nobody asked me. I just said, let me know what makes a difference in this school's life. Because of it, if you see my CV today, you see that I've done a program in London School of Economics, in Harvard, in Columbia, in IMD. I'm an almost of Oxford University, Cambridge, INSEAD in France, everywhere. In 2001, I went to Kenya. I was serving. I've been the youngest chairman, and I hope that everyone. I've been the youngest chairman of a bank in Nigeria. And I've been there, I was only Nigerian serving in 3 banks at the time. When CBN said you can only serve in 1 bank as the director, I was the director in 3. Because the owners want me to be part of what they're doing. So in 2001, I went to Kenya to do a program for 3 months. The dean of the school, you must have seen me, you see this in mind, when you go to social media, you must have seen, what I'm going to say now, all of you must have seen it, man. But it's good I say it again. The dean of the school, Professor Donald Jacobs, took us on a course called the World Economy. For 3 months, a day before the last day, and that was his last day time in that school, is retiring that year. A day before the last day, if you know Kellogg Graduate School, Northwestern University, it was filled up, and he came to do what normal lecture, because it was a day before he retired. A lot of students he has taught CEOs of various companies, because the course I went to do is a CEO course. It's the chief executive course, the highest course they have in that college. And I raised my hand and said, Professor Jacob, you've not talked, you took us on a world economy, but you've not said anything about Africa. And he looked at me and said, Peter, you want to know about Africa? I said, yes. Professor Jacob, I paid $40,000 for this course. 2001. And he has not said anything about my continent. But you're teaching us world economy. He said, I'll tell you tomorrow. Tomorrow is his last day as a lecturer in that university, where he has been teaching since 1957. So almost over 50 years. And he has been for a word to say about Africa. he finished that last day, he looked at me again and said, Peter, do you want to know about world Africa? I said yes. He said there's nothing called African economy. It doesn't exist. Nobody plans with Africa. Have I ever seen a car called African specification? There's European spec, there's American spec, there's the Gulf spec, there's Asian spec. Have you ever seen African spec? No. In Nigeria, do they have 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years plan? I haven't seen one, but I believe they should be. That's my belief then. And I said yes. He said he would like to have them. But he wants me to join him for lunch. And I joined him for lunch. After we had lunch, if you know Kellogg Graduate School, it's on the back of Lake Michigan. This is the school, the lake is there. And a lovely, one of the best beaches you can go to America. So you go from the classroom to the beach. So after we had lunch, he said, let's take a walk by the beach. As we were taking a walk, Professor Jacob asked me, do you have any of your country's currency? And I said yes. I brought out 100 naira. That was the biggest denomination then in 2001. There's no 500, there's no 1,000. The highest denomination in 2001 was 100 naira. So I brought out 100 naira. He brought out $100. As at that time, the rate was about 90 naira to $1, between 90 and 100 naira. So he said, why do you prefer, which of these two currencies? He had the two of them said, which of these two currencies do you prefer? I said the dollar. Professor Jacob asked me, why do you prefer the dollar? I told him the rate is 100 to 1. So what the dollar, $100 is 10,000 naira. He said I should keep his dollar. You keep my naira. Can you imagine that again? So I was glad. And we continued to walk, not up the pole again. Professor Jacob asked me to stop, and we stopped. And he said to me, bring out my dollar. You can imagine how I feel losing this profit I've just made. So I brought out his dollar, he brought out my naira. I asked him the same question again. Why do you prefer dollar to naira? And I answered him the same thing. Professor Jacob said, let's sit down by the bench and observe and feel the love of the environment and the sea. And we sat down. And he said to me, Peter, young man, the only reason why you prefer another country's currency to your currency is the amount of faith you have in your country. Economy is driven by faith. And you don't have faith in your country because there's no hope. It is hope that drives faith. There's nothing. Same thing. He proved to me that it costs more to print the naira than the dollar because naira has multiple colors. The other one is just green and white. And I came back and took it on with CBN. CBN come on there. He told me it's correct. He said, so this is a printed piece of paper. The Chinese people keep their money in Chinese yuan. This is Professor Jacob now talking to me. The Singaporeans keep their money in Singaporean dollar. The Malaysians keep it in their Malaysian. There was no euro then. Germans keep it in German marks. Italians in Italian lira. The British in pounds. We keep it in our dollar. But because you have no faith in your country, you now want to keep your money in dollars, thereby strengthening my own economy. and polarizing your people. Peter, I've been close to you here because it's a personal discussion. You know, the case that allows us to discuss it. He said, Peter, can I ask you for a favor? And I said, yes. He said, before I ask the favor, I want to ask you a question. Do you have $1 million of your own? Are you worth $1 million? I said, of course. Are you worth $3 million? I said, of course. I said, I'm worth $10 million. He said, Peter, you have no reason. Then I'm going to ask you for this favor. Can you go back and talk to you? You're in the wrong business. For my personal conversation with you. What you're doing is not what you should be doing. I want to ask you this favor from my heart. Go back to your country and participate in building public wealth. Public wealth enriches everybody. Individual wealth impoverishes everybody. Because it impoverishes the society. Because you are not making your personal money. People are not being educated. There's no health facilities. The poor people are not being pulled out of poverty. The young ones are entrepreneurs, nobody is supporting them. That's what I want you to go back and do. That's where you belong. Not what you're doing now. That was the last conversation I had with Professor Jacob. And I came back here. Like I told you, I was serving in 3 banks. In one of the banks, when I came back to Nigeria, I came back on this course finished on a Thursday. I left Chicago that night. I arrived in Nigeria on Friday morning, like I arrived now. And on arrival in Nigeria, we wanted to open up a second branch in Onitsha here. And what has happened? We paid the landlord. The landlord had used that money. It's a story. He used that money to marry a second wife. So his children don't want us to take possession of the house. So being that is in Onitsha, I'm the director of the bank. I'm meant to sort it out. So I came straight to Onitsha. I was on Onitsha Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. Before I became governor, I don't fly. I drive. Because I'm a trader. So whenever I'm driving, whenever I see concentration of people, I have to stop and observe their habits, what they eat. If there's a store there, is there not my product there? Why is it not selling? Why are they not buying it? And if we need to do the bank branch, we do the bank branch. That. So I'll drive, I'm driving to anywhere in Nigeria. On a Monday morning, after this effect, I was trying to drive through Opiweka. My driver then saw a group of people circled in Opiweka. And he said to me, it is Bakassi people that are trying to kill some robbers, some criminals. And I said, stop. He said, he can't stop. I said, stop. He said, he can't stop. So I stopped. I said, stop, stop. I want to watch it. Within 5 minutes to 10 minutes, 2 young men were dragged out of a car and their head cut off. I didn't say, somebody told me. I watched it live. They cut off their head was one place, their body was in one place, spitting blood. People were clapping. People were clapping. My driver could not drive. I drove that car from here to Benin. That's where my driver covered himself and started saying, okay, let me continue. I drove that car from Onitsha to Benin. When I go back to Lagos, you can imagine what it is for me. There's 5 of us or 6 of us who brought the company here and we're trying to invest in it. Not just that we brought the company here, but the number of other people were involved. And we're trying to invest in that company. Those who invested in it today are far imagine what it is for her. I've never voted. I've never stayed in my village. And I said, I'm going to my village to contest governor. Whatever brought us this road, I'm going to fight it. That is how Peter got involved in politics. December 2001, I packed my suitcase without having a house in my village, which I don't have for today. It's my mother's house. And I have only 2 bedrooms there, which my mother generously gave me. I have no air condition in it, which is, I left it like that today because I want to live like a village as well as a village. I just came from, like I said, the only thing I did today when I came, because I would say, I came for this. But as I was coming here, Mr. Val told me that somebody believes that he's the poorest person in my village now. And he's being buried today. And I said, I must go to his funeral. That's the only place I went today. Apart from money and anything, I said I must go because I know people will not come for his funeral. So let me go. Anyway, so I went back to my village. That's how I packed my suitcase from Lagos to go and live in my village. And I lived there for 2000, from December 2001, so the whole of 2002, I was there until they had election in 2003, which I won, and somebody else was declared. And I went to court for 3 years. The rest is history. I just want to tell you people how I got involved in politics. So whenever people look at politics and they say to me, oh, this is this, oh, you're not doing this, you're not doing that, oh, Peter, you're not fighting, you're not buying votes, you're not doing this and everything, I tell them, I didn't come to see politics as a business. When I started here, and I say something to the politicians, they say, oh, don't mind, I say, whenever I want to do anything, I say, God, if I take money of this people that I'm not entitled to, punish me and my children because you gave me enough. I have enough money in my house. Any day, any time. Not enough to be buying private jet or living like a 5-star life. Because it depends on what you need money for. I have money for basic things. I was telling Val I'm going to visit. As you know, I visit about 10-20 schools every year here. And people say to me, this money you give, why don't you use it to do this? Or if I tell someone like I told you now, I don't have a house in my village, and he says to me, no, Peter, that is not good enough. Oh, Peter, that is not this. I have occasions. When I was 50, I was governor. One of the banks I started decided they're going to do the house for me. And I get asked them the cost. They came with the cost of 120 million naira. And 3 schools, one is in Colombia, one is in Abatete, one is in my village. They don't know, which will cost them 710 million naira. I said, these are people who need house. Because I have a place I can sleep. You don't need all these things people are finding here. It worsens your life. If you have 2 properties, you have 2 problems. I can tell you that. It increases your problem. People don't know that. People say to me, oh, how did you just come this morning? And you're going to, how did you have this energy? Energies are what you want to use them for. Can use them negatively. Can use them positively. So what I want to do is to let us have interaction. Because I want to learn from you. The questions we ask and what we do. The next few minutes, let's spend the interaction. So wealth is beyond money. Wealth is about creating a society, contributing to building a better state. It starts from your character, your person. Character of the person. What are you contributing? For you to build wealth, you need to contribute in building a better society. So for a society to be wealthy, that society must be educated. The more educated the society is, the more developed, the more wealthy. That society must have health care. That society must put people out of poverty. If that society is not doing these three things, it's not creating wealth. And you can create society wealth. That is where you increase the individual wealth. Because everybody who is sick, when I was in secondary school here, if I'm sick, I go to German school. Nobody goes there today. No function. And you can go on and on.